Welcome to episode 4 of Exploring Esoterica. This episode we explore Horus and Maat, a journey through dual spiritual currents. Ancient Egyptian mysticism meets quantum physics. That's what we're exploring today with a fascinating spiritual movement that claims to be actively shaping humanity's evolutionary future.
You know what really draws me in about these esoteric organizations? The way they blend ancient symbolism with cutting-edge theories about consciousness. What made you want to dig deeper into this one?
Well, at the heart of this group, the Horus Maat Lodge, is something they call the double current. Two distinct spiritual forces they believe are shaping our reality. The first is the current of Horus, representing our present age, which they describe as this explosive, fiery energy characteristic of our modern times.
That's intriguing. How exactly do they characterize this current energy?
They call it the 93 current, and it's all about channeling what they term the red flame of passion through love and will. But here's where it gets really interesting. They pair this with a second current called the current of Maat, or the 696 current, which they see as humanity's future evolutionary potential.
So they're essentially trying to bridge present and future consciousness. That's quite ambitious.
Exactly, and they've even developed a mathematical formula for it. 93 greater than 418, less than 696. They believe these numbers have specific vibrational frequencies that can help facilitate this evolution of consciousness.
You know, this reminds me of some recent studies in quantum consciousness theory. There's growing scientific interest in the idea that consciousness might operate on quantum principles. How do they actually work with these energies?
They practice something called the praxis of the double current, which involves various spiritual techniques designed to work with both currents simultaneously. What's fascinating is their concept of naton. They describe it as the united consciousness of humanity, almost like a collective quantum field of awareness.
That's exactly what some quantum physicists are suggesting, that consciousness might be a field rather than just an individual phenomenon. Do they have specific practices for accessing this field?
They work with these symbolic flames, the red flame of passion for current consciousness and the black flame of balance for future potential. It's interesting how this mirrors the way quantum physics describes potential states versus measured reality.
Well, that's quite a sophisticated framework they've developed. How do they see this affecting humanity's future?
They believe we're actively participating in humanity's evolution through conscious engagement with these currents. The Horus current represents our dynamic present, while the Maat current symbolizes a future state of perfect balance and unified consciousness.
That's fascinating. And you know what? It actually aligns with some emerging theories about collective consciousness and human potential.
Right. And what makes their approach unique is how they've managed to create this bridge between ancient wisdom and future potential. They're not just theorizing about evolution, they're developing practical methods to facilitate it.
So what do you think are the broader implications of this kind of spiritual futurism?
Well, I think it speaks to a growing recognition that spiritual practice needs to evolve beyond individual enlightenment to address collective transformation. Their emphasis on personal autonomy combined with collective evolution really resonates with contemporary challenges.
That's such an important point about the relationship between individual and collective development.
And what's particularly valuable is how they've maintained the mystery and depth of traditional practices while making them relevant to modern consciousness evolution. Their approach suggests that spiritual development isn't just about personal growth, it's about contributing to humanity's collective future.
That's really given me a lot to think about regarding the future of spiritual practice and human consciousness.
The following is a more comprehensive overview of this podcast. The Horus Maat Lodge represents a sophisticated spiritual system built upon the concept of dual mystical currents working in harmonious conjunction. This esoteric tradition combines ancient wisdom with modern interpretations, creating a unique approach to spiritual development through the integration of opposing yet complementary forces. At its foundation lies the current of Horus, designated as the 93 current, which embodies the dynamic and transformative energy of our present age. This current manifests through what practitioners identify as the red flame of passion, operating through the twin principles of love and will. The Horus current reflects the intense, revolutionary nature of contemporary times, characterized by rapid technological advancement, social transformation, and the evolution of human consciousness. This fiery energy serves as a catalyst for personal and collective growth. Parallel to this runs the current of Maat, known as the 696 current, which represents a future state of consciousness termed the Aeon Omega point. This current channels what practitioners call the black flame of balance, again working through love and will, but with an emphasis on equilibrium and integration. The Maat current points toward the emergence of Naton, a concept describing humanity's unified consciousness. This represents a future state where individual awareness merges into a collective understanding while maintaining individual identity. The Lodge's philosophical framework expresses these dual currents through the mathematical formula 2 equals 0, suggesting that apparent duality ultimately resolves into unity. This concept is further elaborated through the numerical sequence 93 greater than 418 less than 696, where 418 serves as a crucial bridging value between the currents of Horus and Maat. These numbers carry specific significance within the tradition, representing different aspects of spiritual evolution and transformation. The symbolic structure of the Lodge's teachings emphasizes the integration of seemingly opposing forces. Rather than viewing the currents of Horus and Maat as contradictory, the tradition presents them as complementary aspects of a single spiritual reality. The fiery, dynamic energy of Horus balances with the stabilizing, unifying force of Maat, creating a complete system of spiritual development. The tradition incorporates elements from various esoteric systems, including Thelemic philosophy, evidenced by the emphasis on love and will, and Egyptian mythology through the figures of Horus and Maat. However, it synthesizes these influences into a unique approach focused on the reconciliation of dynamic change with cosmic balance. The greeting Patanheya serves as a formal welcome to those entering the Lodge's teachings, marking the threshold between ordinary consciousness and the mystical realm of the double current. The concept of Naton, representing humanity's united consciousness, suggests an evolutionary perspective on human development. This implies that the current age of Horus, with its intense transformative energy, is preparing the way for a future state of greater unity and balance under the influence of Maat. This progression is seen as natural and necessary for human spiritual evolution. The Lodge's teachings encompass both theoretical understanding and practical application through what they term the praxis of the double current. This suggests a comprehensive approach that includes not just philosophical concepts, but also concrete methods for working with these spiritual energies. The emphasis on praxis indicates a focus on experiential learning and personal transformation rather than purely intellectual understanding. The invitation to enter and join, or leave, as you will, reflects a fundamental respect for individual autonomy in spiritual matters. This aligns with modern esoteric traditions that emphasize personal sovereignty and self-directed spiritual development. The Lodge presents itself as a gateway or opportunity rather than imposing any obligation or demanding adherence to its teachings. The mathematical and numerical aspects of the tradition suggest a systematic approach to spiritual understanding, using numbers and formulas as tools for expressing mystical concepts. This reflects a common feature of esoteric traditions that seek to bridge rational and intuitive modes of knowledge, creating a comprehensive framework for understanding spiritual realities. For practitioners, the Lodge offers a path that integrates both the passionate, transformative energy of Horus and the balancing, unifying force of Maat. This dual approach allows for personal growth while maintaining equilibrium, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of spiritual development that acknowledges both the dynamic and stabilizing aspects of consciousness evolution. Thank you all for joining us today for this fascinating exploration of how ancient wisdom and future evolution might be more connected than we think. And remember, sometimes the most profound truths lie at the intersection of past and future. This has been a presentation of Black Moon Publishing.